Hey everyone, I hope you guys are doing well. I am live. I hope that my light is not too bright. But what I wanted to do is talk this evening, as I promised everyone, to bring you information on how to dispute through the credit bureaus. So hopefully, excuse me, this message and this information will help you go through your process and how to really start to attack certain items, especially now during these pandemic times. We're seeing that the credit bureaus are really taking advantage of some of the leeway that the Consumer Financial Bureau have given them. So you really have to be savvy now, and you really have to be really determined and know your rights under the FCRA. So this is going to discuss how to handle items that you're disputing through the credit bureaus. Now, one thing, if you follow my information, I'm an advocate of not really dealing with collections directly through the credit bureaus if they are unpaid. If you have paid them, then that is your only recourse. But if you did not know, if you paid the collection agency, you really gave them a right to report that debt by paying them. But all hope is not lost. You can try to attack and dispute that item, but it does make it tougher. So you have to find certain items and look for by trying to conduct a factual dispute. If you do have collections, if you have inquiries, I have a free hard inquiry removal letter that you will send directly to that company. Then I have a second free hard inquiry removal letter to the credit bureaus. So you want to first send out the hard inquiry removal letter directly to that company and then try with some time dispute through the credit bureaus. Let that 30-day window pass. Wait for that response from that company, because what we are seeing many times, that company do not know who you are. So you can take that evidence that when they said they do not know who you are, take that second letter and send it for evidence to the credit bureaus and dispute it that way. Now, when we are dealing with the credit bureaus, I always advocate for you to use an affidavit. And the reason why you need to use an affidavit, especially now more than ever, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau have given the credit bureaus more time allotted to answer your dispute. So they're really taking advantage of this, and now they are purposely trying not to answer your dispute. They'll try to make you dispute online and tell you, oh, you need to dispute online. The reason why they're encouraging you to dispute online, because it takes away your rights to actually go to court with the FTC, okay, the Federal Trade Commission. So by you disputing online, you surrender your right in order to do that, and also you surrender your right to demand the method of verification, which is very important. Okay, that's part of your right under the Fair Credit Reporting Act under Section 611. Okay, so you want to always send your disputes certified mail with 2 pieces of ID. Okay, with your affidavit. Now, with me in my packages, I have affidavit letters. Now, the strength of the affidavit is this. When you have an affidavit, one of the techniques of the bureaus not to answer your dispute is to claim they did not know it was you. They thought it was another party. You didn't send enough identification. And they're still trying to use that, because if you did not know, credit repair companies do not have a right to dispute in your stead for you. So when you have an affidavit, you are taking that to get notarized. And when you go to a notary, which is an official appointed by your state, who's been sanctioned by your state to be an official notary, you're showing them a form of ID. So you have a person that's actually witnessing, that is actually approved by your state in order to do so. So when you send that affidavit with your dispute, on that affidavit, you will write in your information for your dispute. You gotta send 2 forms of ID. I usually advocate for people to use their driver's license, a copy of your social security card, only going to the bureaus. You don't send that information to collection companies, or when you're disputing directly with a company with a hard inquiry, because you do not want to give them anything with your signatures so they can take that and put it on a document and claim you signed it. And they are not above that. But with the credit bureaus, you can send that information because you are supposed to do that in accordance with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Okay, so they use that to weasel their way out of answering your dispute and try to discourage from receiving a dispute by mail. A sidebar, why they are so dogmatic by making you do it by online, not only do it take away your rights, but they charge your bank or whatever collection agency that is reporting that, or whatever banking institution that reported that line, or is currently, if it's active, reporting that line. They charge them $1.25 every time you dispute that item and investigate it. So it's another backdoor way for them to make money. So keep that in mind. This is why they do not like you sending these items by mail. Okay, so you need that certified letter. Send your affidavit certified, and with those 2 forms of ID. Now, what they are trying to do is pretend sometime, still, when you call in with the customer service rep, we received it, but we thought it wasn't you. Now, because you sent the affidavit, you can reply to them and say, it says a sworn affidavit. Now, a sworn affidavit is a legal document that will hold up by law, where you are witnessing and could be punished by law because I'm making a sworn statement. So if you know this is a sworn affidavit and it's been notarized, how can you say it wasn't me when it has a notary stamp? So this has been a backdoor way to get at the credit bureaus, because if they are not going to comply, you got your evidence. You sent them a sworn affidavit. You also sent it certified. So if you have to file your complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, you got your evidence that they purposely is not trying to answer your dispute. So you can have your ducks in a row and your evidence already starting a paper trail to hold them responsible, not only with them, but also with the Federal Trade Commission in court. Now, when you're disputing certain items, you want to look for any inconsistencies. So let's take bankruptcy. What you would want to do is look at the filing date. You can look at also the reporting, the court that they're reporting. A lot of times they might say U.S. bankruptcy court, but did it tell them the district? A lot of people have the wrong district that they're reporting. It might say, for me, if I filed bankruptcy, the bankruptcy court in Trenton, New Jersey, when actually my bankruptcy was filed in Newark, New Jersey. That is an inaccurate information reporting on my credit report. Factually incorrect. So remember, under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, every item has to be complete and accurate. So they are not allowed to report any inaccurate information. Because it's true does not mean that it needs to be reported. They have to make sure every part is fair and accurate. And what you can do to back up your dispute is, if you have another credit bureau, TransUnion or Equifax, let's say, and they have a different way of reporting that item, or if it's not reporting on that credit report at all, you can use that as evidence, as standing. This bureau is not reporting this at all. And a lot of people just say, this is not mine. But do not try to attack it that way, because a lot of times they can, with the evidence that is, a lot of people tell them, because it is under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, about if it's unverifiable, inaccurate, or incomplete. But when you do have an item, it is your item, then you don't want to attack it by being unverifiable. This is why so many people disputes come back verified. And you want to attack it from the standpoint of it's factually incorrect. And the whole item should be removed. It should be deleted because it is not correct. So you can use that method just about with any item reporting on your credit report. Another thing that happens often, if you have student loans, you'll see sometimes they'll report multiple times for one student loan account with the same account number. If you're a person that is going for a home, or that reporting of that same item, because there are people that have a number of student loans, but they don't pay attention to see they're reporting 2 or 3 accounts over and over again, which up the balance of debt on your credit report that is bringing it down, because it shows that you have more debt and you're more of a credit risk because you have too much debt. You need to look out for that. And if they're reporting that account too many times, you need to dispute that off. You can say, you are reporting this account a number of times, and make sure that you have that account number and also remove that off. Because if people had a number of late payments for that account, now that includes a double amount of a late payments for that one account. Also, what they do a lot, closed accounts are able to report the payment history. If you had a car loan and you paid it off, an installment loan, and it was closed, they can report the past payment history. But what you'll see many times, a charge-off, you'll see them reporting payment history on a charge-off. Charge-off should not have payment history reporting because the debt is charged off, it's not closed. And you might also see that it's charged off the account and showing a balance. If it's a charge off, the balance should be zero. It should be no payment due because it's charged off. They charged off the account. So there should be no balance, because if it's reporting a balance and it's reporting as a collection, then that adds on the debt on. So you can dispute that factually, that under the FCRA, they cannot report a charge off with payment history because it's charged off. Also, no payment history should be attached to a collection. A collection should not be reporting payment history because it's in collections. So the amount that's due, it should not have payment history attached to it. So that is another common thing that you may see on your credit report, and you can then use the affidavit to attack that. That is a factual item. That is fact. So you want to, when you're disputing your items, look for any inconsistencies and violations. So one of a big inconsistency that you might see also on your account, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian might have a different balance that's due on an account, even an active account. If it is worth removing or reporting, you can take, let's say on Experian, it is reporting a higher balance, which you have to keep in mind. If they're reporting a higher balance that's really actually due, that is hurting you because it shows that you have more debt on your credit than you should. So you want to make sure the more debt that they're reporting, especially for people who are looking for homes, you do not need more debt. It can disqualify you for the home that you may want because it looks like you have more debt obligation than you really have. So that also affects your credit score. So if you have one, let's say TransUnion, showing a lesser balance, you can dispute that item. If vice versa, even if you want that account to come off of TransUnion, you can show that if Equifax and Experian have two separate balances, to dispute it and said this item is inaccurate, reporting inaccurately. So it doesn't matter if it is true or not. It's inaccurate. It has to be completely accurate. Another big item is the source. You will see, especially with Equifax, collections, it'll say medical collections, unknown source, source unknown, then it is not complete. So it doesn't have the complete information. So if an item is reporting that way, you can dispute it because it is not a complete item with all the information. If it is missing a address for that collection company or whoever is reporting it, this is big even for inquiries on hard car pulls for auto, when you were seeking a car loan or auto loan. You a lot of times don't have an address to contact that company reporting on your credit file. You can dispute that because that is a violation of the FCRA. So you want to look for majority factual disputes. Even when it comes down to foreclosures, you can look for information, factual information. If it's showing that it's a balance on a foreclosure, which it should be zero, and the home was foreclosed, you can dispute that item if the dates are incorrect. Find or the original amount of the loan is incorrect, to dispute that item, you can go in and factually dispute that item as being incorrect. Any dates, if the account number is incorrect and you know it's an account, but that is not the number, you can dispute that item, that it is it's factually incorrect, and you want to kind of keep your disputes as simple as possible. You don't want a lot of language. You want to make it short and sweet. So say with the bankruptcy, if you saying the filing date is off, or the bank, it just say U.S. Bankruptcy Court, you can simply say this item for bankruptcy information says bankruptcy court. This is incomplete, so delete the item. You want to keep it as simple and tell them what to do. Remove this negative item. So delete this negative item. If you have late payments, you want to tell them what to do. So usually you need to attack the furthest late payment as possible. Anything in a 2-year window, remember, the longer that late payment sit, the less it affects your credit score with these current scoring models. FICO 10T, it will be up to 24 months, but it will affect your credit score heavier within that first 24 months than under the current scoring models that most of the lenders are using now. But with a late item, about the third month, you'll begin to see your credit score slowly creep up. So what you might want to do on a late payment to say this item on, let's say, December 12th, 2019 was paid on time. Update as paid as agreed. So that's that. You want to keep it that simple. You don't want to murk up the water. You want to keep it plain Jane as possible and tell them what to do. Update as paid as agreed. This item, say if you have a couple of items that was reporting back to back 90 days late, go to the first item and said this account was paid on time. Update the item as paid as agreed. Just point blank, period. So you want to make sure that you're making your disputes as simple as possible and make it as factual as possible. Try not to, unless an item is really not yours, not to use the avenue of unverified. Because if you do have to go to court, the end result, it really was your debt. So that blows that out the water. It is not unverified, it's yours, but you want to attack the inaccuracy, the incompleteness is a better way to go with this, even when you file your complaint. So another thing that a lot of people stop when you're going to the bureaus. If you're going to the bureaus, it's not just going to be a simple process. There should or would most likely be a number of letters that you will have to send, of rounds of letters. That's why I'm an advocate, even with late payments, for an open account to try to deal directly with that reporter or your credit card company if it's still accurate, sending a goodwill letter or calling them, because it's a shorter period of time. If they can essentially update the item themselves, they can turn that around within 28 days. But going through the bureaus tend to be a longer process. They're bigger. They all make billions, over billions of dollars. And so it's hard to hold someone accountable there. When you're dealing with your local company or a company that's national, like a Capital One, you can actually get names to hold people accountable. So a lot of times, especially with collections, your best way is to attack there instead of going through the bureaus. And the longer you dispute an item, the less chance that they're going to want to remove that item. So you want to try to hit the target as direct as possible. But when they send you a response back after that first initial response saying that the item is correct, whatever their reply is, your next step is always to request the method of verification. The bureaus have an obligation under the Fair Credit Reporting Act is to really sit and investigate that item. Someone should be calling in from TransUnion or Equifax, calling the company that you're disputing that item with and investigate that item. You should want to reply when they send you that for the method of verification that they use, who they spoke to, where is the documentation that they verified this item. If you don't know, the bureaus never do that whatsoever. They always violate this law because they have people working overseas that only get 2 minutes to go in the system with a 3-digit code, and whoever that reporter is, of course, is going to come back as accurate or verified. So they never get a chance to call because this system is all about them making money, and that is the big credit bureaus. So taking the time for all these disputes for them to investigate and call each one would cost them a lot in labor, and they're not going to follow the rules. So you need to challenge who they spoke to, what was their method of verification, and that is your right under the FCRA, under section 611. Okay, so you have that right in order to find out, well, where's the method of verification? Where is the documentation where they prove this? The bureaus only allow their agents, which is across seas, to verify through Lexis, through the eOscar system. And LexisNexis a lot of times is the data provider of the information that is given. So when you demand the method of verification, LexisNexis is not an option for them. They know they should have someone to call and verify each item. So your next step is always to demand the method of verification. You always want to send that certified mail, and with the same standard of what we said earlier. You can send a copy of your original sworn affidavit that you already had, along with this new letter and a copy of your social security card, driver's license, utility bill to prove out. You always need to make a track record going forth when you're going through the credit bureaus. So if you have to file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, you have your evidence. So I hope this was educational for you guys. I hope it gave you an option. If you need affidavits or letters, please feel free to go to my website. We have it in the the Credit Bureau Dispute Package. If you need debt validation letters, that will be in our Deluxe collection package. Next week, I want to go into the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which actually deal with collections. It is a law that give you your rights that a collection company have to verify a debt directly. They have to show they have the proof to collect on that debt. So they have to verify it. Also, if you need those inquiry letters, hard inquiry letters, I have it at my website for free. One is on the home page and the other is on the pricing page at the bottom. If you are interested in my credit coaching, feel free also at my website. I will have the link that we can do a Zoom consultation and look at ways on how to increase your credit score. Do not believe for 1 second that disputing negative items is the only way to increase your credit score. You can increase your credit score while removing negative items. A lot of credit repair companies do not tell you that because they don't want you to know that. They want you to constantly dispute an item over and over again. And it takes you guys a lot, years or months. And somebody told me they paid this company for 3 years. And there is no guarantee when you're disputing items through the credit bureaus. So a lot of times you want to look what's on your credit profile, and we can see together on what's the quickest way to increase your credit score and what's the best method. So if you're interested in that and my consultant, feel free to do that. I hope this was informational. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments. I thank each and every one of you guys and have a blessed night.